never heard of it before, didn't know
Yeah.
what it was or anything. But when they started explaining things about the hyperactivity, impulsivity stuff, I was like, that makes sense now. That's definitely Charlie. He used to get told off a lot, all the time, whether it was from teachers, like some family members. Obviously you'd be a bit like, Charlie, calm down and stuff, which we were all like that because we didn't know.
Yeah.
You just think that he was just a naughty child and I wasn't a very good parent. You can live a better life, I suppose, instead of this really stressed mental household. I mean, don't get me wrong, the house is mental all the time. When people come around, I'm just like, I'm so sorry. It's just, we've got the dogs barking, Charlie running down the stairs doing a siren, like, yeah. If it wasn't for me being there for him, then he wouldn't have anyone. And it worries me how he's going to get on with in life if I'm not there for him.
This episode is sponsored by Refuse to Conform Clothing. The beauty of this company is their weighted hoodies, which are there to support people with anxiety and help in moments of worry and concern. But not just that, they've got a really strong message on their clothing which supports mental health and really promotes people to be their individual selves. Their hoodies are awesome and come with a giant hood that you can hide in, super long sleeves that you can snuggle up in. They're designed to be oversized, and for any teenager that I know, that sounds kind of inviting, especially if they struggle with anxiety. So I'm pleased to have these guys sponsoring this episode today. And if you want to check out Refuse to Conform Clothing, I've put their link in the description from this podcast, so please feel free. Go and have a look and see if it's something your team would really adore. Hi there, welcome to Parenting Team Podcasts with me, Rachel Martin. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Sophie, to talk as a parent and the world of ADHD, a very complicated one, but I really appreciate your time. But before we go into what exactly more detail of why you're here, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself so everyone knows who you are?
Yeah, my name's Sophie. I'm 41 and I'm married to Tom, and we've got 2 children, Charlie, who's nearly 15, and Esme, who's 9. Live in a really small little village. Got 2 dogs, lots of pets, just work and socialising, and yeah, a bit boring.
No, I'm just checking you're not a superhero, to be fair.
No.
Secretly, like an
I wish
alternative
I was.
identity for everything you've done.
Yeah.
Just shows you're perfectly a normal person, the same as everybody else who's going to listen to this. So that's the bit we need to get across. Thank you so much for coming today, Sophie. And as I've said, here to talk about ADHD. So to unveil the mystery, I guess, can you just tell me a little bit about how ADHD came into your world?
Yeah, so Charlie's always, when he was born, he was just always a little boisterous, lively child, didn't really think much of it. There was a few things I thought, he's not the same as his friends, he's quite immature, but I put that down to him being one of the youngest ones in the year. He'd have certain tics he'd do, and he hated getting his hands dirty, and he liked taking things apart and then putting them back together. I just thought that was a normal child. And it wasn't until year 1, and I went in for his first parents' evening, and she said to me basically that Charlie can't sit still. He's very fidgety, he's very loud and hyper and things. And I actually said to her, are you talking about my Charlie? Because there was like 4 different Charlies in the year. And she went, no, it's definitely your Charlie. And I just didn't know anything. Wow. I just, it kind of was a bit of a shock. And she said, we put a weighted pillow on him to sit at the carpet time because he can't sit still, and things like that. So I was a bit like, okay. Then in year 2, they asked the Senko to come in and just sort of have a look at him. And she said, yeah, there's a few issues about him being hyper and fidgeting, but it's too young to sort of diagnose anything. And still I was thinking, well, what are you going to diagnose with him with? Yeah. And then in year 3, his teacher asked me to take him to the doctors and see if there's anything wrong with him. She didn't say anything about ADHD or anything. And when I went to the doctors, he said he's probably just bored in class. That's why he can't sit still, and he's a bit fidgety. Physically, he's okay. So, and then it was a few months later that the Senko sort of asked for a proper meeting with me and said, we think Charlie has ADHD. I'd never heard of it before, didn't know what it was or anything. But when they started explaining things about the hyperactivity, impulsivity stuff, I was like, that makes sense now. That's definitely Charlie.
Wow.
So yeah, that was how it first sort of came about. So he was about 7 years old then. And yeah, and it's just gone on from there. I just, because it's my first child, I didn't know any different, I suppose.
No, and it must have been so scary. That's like your first real parents' evening when you got him in year 1. And I think we'll all know how arse-sweatingly scary they are. Even though you're an adult, sitting opposite an adult, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I was really like taken aback, and I went home and I was like, the teacher's saying this about Charlie, and me and my husband were like, no, he's not like that. But then you kind of start noticing a bit more, I suppose, of him not being able to sit still and things like that. But so he was 5 when he went into year 1, just 5. He's still a little boy, energetic, everything that. So you didn't really think of it. So yeah, that's how it first sort of came
into your world. And you've talked a bit about looking back, like that was told to you at such raised to you at such a young age for him. And like a first child, all those kind of things. Looking back now he's so much older. Across this journey, is there any things that you kind of see now, a bit like you saying you started to look and actually might have been a bit more fidgety? Has it kind of made more sense now you look back?
Definitely. He can't sit and watch telly properly, so he'll lie on the sofa with like his head hanging off, with his leg on the wall, and he'll be like banging his legs on the wall, or he'll be rolling around on the floor watching telly but like rolling around. Like I said about these tics, I mean, not all ADHD children have tics, but he does. And one of them that he had growing up was a siren noise, like for a fire engine, because he wanted to be a fireman. And it was, a lot. He used to do it a lot. And, me and my friend used to go and pick her and my boy up, and we'd be walking along and we could just hear Charlie in the school doing this siren noise. And we'd be like, well, that's Charlie. He's
definitely there. He's coming out. Good.
Exactly. It's just like, but no, he just had so much energy. But yeah, just
I'm probably awful, not in this world, so this is fascinating to me to hear this stuff from you, because I'm smiling away here at like, oh, he's making his siren noise and he's got so much energy. That's so lovely, because some kids you just don't play or, but day in, day out, for years and years and years, you might not appreciate the smile I'm giving of like, oh wow, because you've lived it. So like, how have you navigated this, got through this? Because it must be such an epic journey for you.
It really was. And because I didn't know, and like I said, I didn't know anything about it. I had to research everything. At the time he was died, like they first said it, there wasn't that much stuff, not many books and things out. There's bits on the internet, but I know it's only like 7 years ago, but there wasn't that much. So I basically had to learn everything myself. There wasn't help groups, there wasn't like social media, like Facebook groups for parents, there wasn't anything like that. So I literally was just basically on my own, learning. My mum was brilliant. She helped me, like she was also on the internet, researching stuff, sending it to me. But yeah, it was basically I had to do everything on my own. And because my husband worked away a lot, or long hours, it was just me and Charlie till he was 5. He was 5 when I had my daughter. So yeah, and he didn't ever sleep. So when he went to bed, it was like I'd sit down on the sofa and just be like, oh, this is lovely silence. And I didn't want him to wake up, in the night. I'd be dreading him waking up. And it sounds really horrible now when I think about it, but it was very stressful. Bless him.
Well, is you surviving what is torture in some countries, lack of sleep, let's be honest. And we voluntarily do it. And I don't think there's any point in parenting where you don't question if you're doing the right thing, if it's and you have these thoughts and go, oh, I'm terrible. Well, actually, no, you're just being realistic with yourself that this is difficult. That sounds really challenging. So how's it been as he's got older? Because that's obviously sounds quite a lot of his primary school years.
Yeah, so he's got worse because he's got more anger, and obviously he's a teenager now, his hormones and everything. He's got really, really angry, and he does have quite bad anger meltdowns and things. But they have said that is part of his ADHD, because he has the severe combined ADHD. So he has all of the ADHDs. So he has really severely. So yeah, growing up, primary school, he wasn't as bad, as in it was just being hyper fidgeting and touching things all the time, just running in front of cars because he doesn't understand danger awareness, and he still has that now. He doesn't understand the danger, so he'll just walk out in front of the cars and stuff. But now it's more angry, and he gets angry at things really, really easily and frustrated, and he has really bad emotions. So he can be happy for 5 minutes and then suddenly get really angry, and then another 5 minutes he'll be crying over something. So it's a bit like his head is just all over the place. He can't, it's like emotional dysregulation, I think it's called, where he just can't control him. So yeah, you never know what mood he's going to be in.
Wow.
Like when he comes home from school, I can tell when he comes home from school because it will depend on how the front door's open.
Oh,
if it's
really?
just a normal,
That's the point you've got to.
and he'll go, "Hi, Mum," or it'll be like, "Come in, slam the door."
Wow.
So kind of know by that, really. But yeah.
My gosh. And how have you managed to get yourself through this? Because it sounds terrible, but like the not sitting down and things like that, you can kind of, the school will handle it and see how.
Yeah.
For that to turn to anger with a teenager,
yeah,
that's difficult.
It's really difficult. And he has got in my face quite a few times, and he's never like hit me or anything like that. He might have just barged me or something like that. And he knows. I know he would never do that, but there are times when, because he's a lot taller than me, and I am intimidated by him, and I do sort of back down. Like I try not to argue with him anyway, but it is quite difficult sometimes. But I find if I argue back with him, it makes it worse. So sometimes I just have to like walk away or try and change the subject about something or something like that to stop him getting angry. But yeah, it has got worse. But I think for me, he's my son, and I never thought I'd have a child with ADHD, but I did. And if it wasn't for me being there for him, then he wouldn't have anyone. And it worries me how he's going to get on in life if I'm not there for him. So I think, I just love him so much. I'll just do anything for him, and I will fight for him, and I will get him everything that he needs just to help him. And I've done all that. I've fought for him through school. I've got his EHCP. I feel like I've done a lot, and now I can sort of be happy with the process, I suppose. Because it was a long 7 years it took from start to finish to get him diagnosed. He got diagnosed just before COVID, then COVID came, and they wouldn't see anyone for 2 years, face to face, like this on the phone. They wouldn't do it. So then we had to go back to the beginning again when they decided to do it, and he had to be seen again. He had to have some more like a QB test, which is something when they go on the computer and they have to like with their concentration, like press the buttons on it and stuff and things like that. We had to go through all that again. So yeah, it was a long 7 years. But I would just like to say I've got the best mum ever. She has been amazing through us, and my friends as well. Like my friends that have known Charlie since he was in preschool with their children, they've never ever said a bad word about Charlie. They love him for who he is. They still had him for play dates and sleepovers. No matter how bad he was, they always just treated him exactly the same. They never wanted to not see me and Charlie, whereas some people do struggle with friends not wanting to see them or not inviting their child to things. And I think it's so sad because the child can't help it, the parent can't help it. But yeah, my friends were brilliant.
I'm so glad to hear it. And obviously, in my world of things, the support you have when your world tips upside down is immense. And I know before this, you had a conversation with a couple of your friends before coming on here. Is there anything that they shared with you that you think is kind of really helpful for people to emphasize that support, or to help with people in this journey themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I've got what they said about Charlie. So I just sort of said to them, oh, I'm going on this podcast, could you just give me a few words about Charlie? Obviously you've known him the longest. So yeah, as it's just 3 of them, so I'll read you what they said. So I'm going to say their names, because then they'll know when they listen to this. So Becky said, Charlie is one of the kindest, funniest kids I've known. He has a heart of gold and is lovely, especially with other kids. He may tell the odd whopper, but they're always harmless and hilarious. He tells lies all the time, but as in things that were never going to happen, you know. Right. He's just seen an alien, like going, you know, things like that, and he'll really believe that he's seen an alien, and he'll make, you know, it's just things like that. He'll just
wow.
So my other friend Rennie said, Charlie is very caring and a loyal friend, despite the difficulties that his ADA puts between his world and others. He's a big nature and animal lover. And then Michelle, she said, from the moment we met Charlie, we loved him. He was always the little monkey who made everybody laugh, and he told the funniest fibs that used to make us laugh. He is always so loyal to Wills and kind to me, always wanting to chat and tell me what he's been up to and all his fun adventures. He is 100 miles an hour, but we love him for that. I remember once we were having a serious conversation in the car about the Ukraine war, and all of a sudden he shouted at the top of his voice, Laurie! Because he'd spotted his favourite massive lorry, you know, he'd just be like concentrating, all of a sudden.
Back out of the room.
But she said he's a one-off, there's no one like him in the world. You've made him and he's wonderful. We don't always see the bad things with him, but I love Charlie, always have and always will. And just like, that's so lovely to read that, you know, that's what my friends think of him, because they don't always see the bad, but they have seen the bad. So for them to say that about him is just, it's lovely.
I'm so glad you got the opportunity to ask that, but we don't do it, do we? As mums, we just kind of shut it all off of like, oh, as long as everybody's still alive, then we're doing a good job. And there's 3 very important people telling you exactly. And it must be so nice to hear people that are important to you understanding how his life is for him and how it's complicated, but it makes him who he is, who's so unique. Like, what a beautiful way to describe it.
It just made me feel really proud, and when I read them I had a little tear in my eye when they messaged them through to me. I'm so lucky that I've got lovely friends and, you know, lovely family that are there for me. So hasn't always been like that with like people being there for me, but like not understanding it in the beginning and things like that. So you know, some people didn't really understand what it was. Certain people thought he was a bit naughty, I wasn't a very good parent, and I'd be embarrassed if he did start playing up in Tesco's or something like that, and you do get the looks from people. So there was times when I felt really low and bad, and what have I done wrong for him to be like this? But then, you know, things like this makes me feel like, well, maybe I haven't done such a bad job, and it isn't. It's him, it's his brain that he can't help.
How did you've talked about, you know, how your friends were so supportive, but also how it was a bit harder as well. How did you find that part of the journey for you, and how was it for Charlie as well?
So he used to get he still does, but I'll go back to like when he was younger. He used to get told off a lot, all the time, whether it was from teachers, like some family members. Obviously you'd be a bit like, Charlie, you know, calm down and stuff, which, you know, we were all like that because we didn't know. But as soon as he kind of got diagnosed and everything, not so much the school, but like family members and things like that just understood it so much more and just realized, oh, actually he's not being naughty, he can't help that. And I, you know, me and Tom were one of those people that would be like, oh, Charlie, just calm down, stop touching things, you know, stop rocking on your chair. But as like I researched more on how I can help him and what the traits are and everything, then once I started telling people, they could understand it a bit more. For people that didn't really understand and thought he was just a really naughty child.
Those that didn't get it, they could just leave your life. It's fine. It feels like now you're very much a different person to who you were when he was in year 4.
Totally. Like I will stick up for him so much more now, because I know that he can't help a lot. Don't get me wrong, I still don't agree with certain stuff he does if he's rude to teachers and things like that. But I understand that he can't help with the anger, but I do not accept him being rude to teachers and things like that. And if he is, I will always message the teacher and apologise. And I get Charlie to do it as well, because I don't want him to think he can just get away and be like, oh, it's my ADHD, because I know the difference now between that. But when he was in year 8, he came home really upset, and he doesn't really get upset like about certain things. He said a teacher, he was disruptive in class, which is what he normally does, and the teacher took him out and said all this stuff to me. And he came home and told me that, and I messaged the teacher, and she messaged me back asking if she could call me, and she phoned, and she was so apologetic, and I shouldn't have done that, it was wrong. But after I explained to her about Charlie, she changed her way of teaching him in a good way. Wow. So, you know, I think when people understood it a bit more, they changed their ways of it. But yeah,
as a parent, the reality is the only way they're going to understand more, because it's so individual, is from you.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people and a lot of information that you've got to share. So how have you done that? I'm like, what's the secret?
Well, I wrote this document for Charlie's school, for all the teachers, for them to just read about what it's like for Charlie and other children that have ADHD. So I put about the 3 different types of ADHD that there are, how the different traits are, and how maybe you could just treat them a bit differently and help them learn and things like that, because Charlie gets sent out all the time. He's always being on called, which is when they get taken out by a different teacher and put into detention or isolation, or he goes to curriculum support a lot of the time because he can't stand being in the classroom when he's getting told off, and curriculum support are really good with him. So I just feel, I mean, the school said to me, would I do something for them to give for their teacher training day for ADHD? And it was so good doing it. I felt like I could just put everything out that I wanted to say. And the Senko teachers that I'd been dealing with said that it was really good. Hopefully it hit the right note for the teachers. So yeah, that's what I've done. And hoping that it'll be a success.
Well, so it put you in front of me with your document for that to understand where it's at. And I will put details if people are after it. Would they be all right to be able to get a copy of what that sheet is, to help some parents who are out there, as long as they don't just rip it off and send it into their school?
No.
Make it individual for your own kid if you're going to do that.
Sorry, I was going to say, I was actually going to do a document for parents, because this is more of the teachers. Although it's got lots of stuff about how the child is, it's more for the teachers, like if they don't give their homework in, if they are fidgeting in class stuff. But I mean, there's loads of books out there. I think I've probably read all of them, but some parents don't have the time to do that with work and stuff, you know. So I thought, if I just did another document, a short document like I've done for the school, for parents that are just going through it, or just want some advice about, or have they got ADHD, and see the traits and things. So yeah, I'm just starting that at the moment as well. So
hot off the press, I feel like I've got an exclusive. Check it out. Brilliant. Yeah. So what you've done might be a great template for parents to understand, if they have got that diagnosis, especially how to approach schools. Because I think it's scary sometimes. They're scary places.
Really scary, especially if you don't know what you're talking about. Like in the beginning, I didn't know. The Senko at Charlie's primary school was absolutely brilliant, and she's actually retiring at the end of this year. And I messaged her the other day to say wish you all the luck and stuff, and just to thank her for Charlie, because if it wasn't for her, none of this would have happened. And
it sounds like to you, diagnosis really made a difference for you and Charlie when that came through.
It really did. It was just such a relief. I remember I got the phone call. I was just about to take the kids to like a trampoline place. We're running late, and the phone rang, and I was like, yes, hello. And she's like, oh, hi, Sophie. You know, Charlie has been diagnosed with severe combined ADHD. And I was just like, wow, he's got the severe one. Like, I didn't really even know there was a severe one, as you know. I just knew that there was different ones. So yeah, it was really good to get it. I kind of beamed all day, but not like, oh, my son's got ADHD, but like, it's finally over, he's finally going to get the help he needs. It was a couple of months after that we went to see the psychiatrist about his medication, and me and my husband and Charlie went, and they obviously explained it all to him, and he was very happy to try it. Unfortunately, he's on his 4th medication now because they haven't worked. 2 of them were stimulants, and they gave him really bad side effects. He was fainting, not eating, he was being sick, he just was feeling very disorientated and things. But you have to leave them on there for on these tablets for a certain times, just in case the side effects go. You know, they didn't go, so we took him off those 2. Another one just didn't work, even on the highest dosage, just didn't work at all. So he's on another one now, which seems to be a bit better. He is a bit calmer than he was. We're not getting the siren as much. Or the siren, or he does, like, he'll be walking along and he'll do this big shriek and then just walk off again. So that's not been as bad. So yeah, for me personally, I think trying the medication, if you and your child is happy about that, to try it, because it's not just for me that I wanted him. Obviously I gave Charlie the choice, but he's now glad that he can concentrate a bit more at school, that he's not hyper, he can sleep now, it's not like his mind's going round and round. So yeah, for him, hopefully this one's working. But the psychiatrist did say not all medication works for children, and it doesn't. And yeah, I thought first medication is going to be brilliant, he's going to be a different child, he's going to be so calm, he's going to do his homework, he's going to just be like really calm, and we could go to the cinema, because you can't go to the cinema because he's fidgeting. And yeah, it didn't work like that. But now hopefully we're on the right track. It's been 2 years of trying medication.
And I guess this is the start, this is the gold, if I'm honest, Sophie, that people just don't, you just wouldn't think about it. You would just go in going, oh, we've got the medication, great.
Yeah.
Medication works, that's what it's there for. That kind of point of let down again and having to go through the 3 months, even though it's not helping, and the side, I'm like, it's such an epic journey.
It really is, yeah, because there was one he tried, he had to have an operation on his leg, and it coincided with the time that he'd started one of the medications, a stimulant, and he became so depressed. He wouldn't eat for weeks. He lost 1.5 stone in a couple of months. He wouldn't go to school. He was on crutches, but he couldn't really walk properly because he wasn't eating. He was so frail, and he would just literally lie in his bed looking up at the ceiling. It was just awful. But we didn't know whether that was to do with the operation or to do with anyway. It was the medication in the end. He wouldn't go to school. I arranged for like 8 of his friends to surprise him after school one day, and I went and picked them up from school and brought them all around, and they all like surprised him and played Xbox and had pizza stuff, and he still wasn't himself. He wasn't the bubbly Charlie that, you know, and that was because he was depressed from that medication. So there are really bad side effects for some, but other children don't have any side effects. So it just depends.
It is that luck of the draw. And again, it's coming back to finding that strength yourself to keep going on the journey when you don't get, because there just isn't a golden bullet for this, is there? There's not a one-shot answer.
No,
that, like you say, brings him back to do his homework, sleep great, and that's not the reality, is it?
I've obviously accepted that that's not Charlie. He's never going to be that child. But yeah, I just wanted him to just have a better quality of life, really, for himself, you know, not being told off all the time from teachers and things. That is the one thing he doesn't like. He's always getting told off and always getting shouted at, and that makes him worse. And I think with ADHD children, if you don't speak to them respectfully, nicely, and you just sort of tell them to do something in a quite an aggressive manner, or, you know, they will react and they will get angry and they will not be the nicest back. Yeah, because they find they find things very unfair if they don't agree with things. For example, Charlie gets involved in a lot of things, like if his teacher's telling someone else off, Charlie will go, well, hang on a minute, that's not fair because he didn't do that, and he'll get involved with it. Then Charlie gets in trouble. But it's yeah, they're very, if they don't think something's right or fair, then they'll say it. And they, you know, if, for example, with football, with Charlie, if the ref's done a decision he doesn't agree with, he will kick off because he thinks it's the wrong decision. Yeah. So, and that's what ADHD children do a lot of.
I'm glad there's a bit more to ADHD though, because I've seen a lot of men as well as boys on the football pitch who don't agree with referees' decisions, and it isn't ADHD for all of them. No. They can't have that, because they will. They'll get very excited.
They'll be like, yeah, it's just my ADHD. Yeah.
You can't tell me I'm not allowed to do it. You're wrong, Ref. You're wrong.
Okay.
Cool. So, as we've obviously talked quite a lot about Charlie, bless him, and the journey that's been for you. But I wonder, have there been any things that have helped Charlie through this as he's gone through this journey?
Yeah, so we didn't actually tell Charlie in the beginning about anything. So because one, we didn't know whether he had it, and two, I just didn't want to worry him because he was a bit of a worrier and things. So we didn't tell him. So, like, for example, at school, he used to have a lot of people come in and what, like, assess him and monitor him and, you know, things like that. And he'd come out and go, oh, so and so, this teacher was watching me today. Like, why? Is it because I'm naughty? And I'd be like, oh, no, it's probably just teacher training, you know, and because you're a bit loud, they were just watching you, kind of thing. And it wasn't until year 5 that we actually got the diagnosis, and we sort of just sat him down, explained it. He wasn't bothered. He was like, oh, well, no, you know, I don't care if I've got it. I don't think he really understood it. It's only as he's got older, and especially like going into year 7 and the changes in the school, that he's realised that he is a bit different, and that his brain does work differently to his friends, and now he absolutely hates it. He thought, when we said to him about like the medication and stuff, he thought a bit like me, oh, it's just going to make me really much better and I can calm down and stuff. But he's never said he doesn't like the way he is, as in he's not angry that he's got it or upset that he's got it. He just hates having it because of the way people treat him. He loves that he's got loads of energy, and he loves that he's creative and he's loud and he's funny and cheeky, but he just doesn't like the way that people treat him, mainly at school with the teachers. So that's kind of why we left it for so long telling him. We didn't want to worry him, but when we did tell him, going up to secondary school was a bit harder for him. But the thing that has got him through it is his friends. He has like the best set of friends. They are just such lovely boys and girls too. Like they hang around with each other. In primary school, everyone was just like, you know, it's just Charlie. What, you know, but obviously going up to secondary school, meeting lots of new friends, everyone just loves him. He's according to his like mentor at school and stuff, he's really popular. All the kids love him, you know, and that's really nice. If it was of his friends, I don't think he would have got through it.
So I'm pleased that he's had that kind of support the other side. It does make a hell of a difference by the sounds of it for him.
Definitely.
So I guess does Charlie talk to you about how he feels about this? I know, again, I think because you were coming on here, you might have had a few words with him, and I'm just wondering what's he knows so much about him now.
I did ask him a few questions. He chats to me. He used to talk to me a lot about things, but now that he's a bit of a teenager, he, you know, as they are, they don't want to talk and stuff like that. So I just wrote a few questions and I asked him. So some of them are just really short answers because that's just him. But I put, did you ever feel different from your friends when you were younger? He said, no, I just thought I was normal, which is really, really good. When did you first know you had ADHD? Mum told me when I was in year 5 at school, but I didn't know what it was, so I didn't care. Which is also very good.
Brutally honest,
I put, how was primary school for you? He said it was good because the teachers understood me more and didn't tell me off all the time when I was fidgeting, and they would let me do jobs for them like taking the recycling out, which helped me when I could feel myself getting hyper and fidgety. And then I put, how were your friends around you in primary school and secondary school? At primary school, my friends were all fine with me as they had all grown up with me. And when I was diagnosed, I was 9 years old. And so none of us really knew what it was. They just thought I was loud and funny. At secondary school, my new friends accepted me for being really hyperactive, loud and fidgety all the time. Most people think I'm just funny. So that's, really nice. So I put, how are the teachers towards you at school? He said they are, and then said a swear word, so I'm not saying this. But he put, they all hate me. None of them understand me and how my brain works. I'm always getting told off and shouted at and getting on call, which is like taken to another classroom by different teachers. A few of them are okay as they understand me. I hate school. If the teachers actually learned how to help me instead of shout at me, I'd probably enjoy it more. I spend a lot of time in curriculum support, so I don't have to go to class, so I just get told off all the time. And then the last question I asked him was, as you are older, how do you feel about your ADHD now? And he said, I hate having it. I just hate it. If I'm in school, I'm always being told off because I'm hyper and disruptive, but I can't help it. And sometimes I don't even know I'm doing it. Even mum tells me off sometimes and tells me to calm down. I really can't concentrate or focus in school with the work. There's too many distractions and I can't cope with all the noise in the class. I'm always getting told off for fiddling or rocking on my chair or getting out of my seat or calling out in class. All the teachers just hate me and I just hate having ADHD and I wish I never had it. So as he's got older, he's realised that he is slightly different, but it's only, I think, only because of the way he is in school. Like out of school, it doesn't matter that he's loud and he's hyper and, he's a goalie he plays for 2 football teams. And so him shouting at everyone what to do and, he just loves that. But and everyone loves it, like it's really good with it. But obviously in school, it's a lot different. So
how is it for you reading that last one?
Really sad because as he was telling me, I was like writing on the computer and I was just sat there thinking, I mean, I always know that he doesn't like school and because of certain teachers and stuff, but knowing that he doesn't want to go to school and like see all his friends and things like that because he's so outgoing and he makes friends easily and he's popular, it really saddens me that he just feels he can't go to school because of how he gets treated. And he finds it very unfair when if him and someone else are doing something, it'll be him that gets told off, not the other child. Even though the other child will go, oh, well, it was just me as well. They'll be like, no, Charlie. It seems like Charlie's always the one that gets in trouble.
Or it's got the renowned name for himself now with it rather than,
I mean, in my document I wrote to the school, I wrote, Charlie's probably known as the naughty child, but he does have a, medical diagnosis.
More to this than him just being, because I guess if he's seen as the funny, like perceived as the funny joking kid, with that could potentially slant how people see him as like, is he doing it because he thinks it's really funny? And actually,
I mean, no. Don't get me wrong, like there is things that, for example, I had a call from the teacher the other day and because I get a lot of calls and emails from his teachers about him, and he was like, oh, hi Mrs. Witherden, just to let you know, Charlie did really well in his maths today. Each child went up to the board and answered a question and Charlie got it right. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is like a really good one. And he went, and then he just proceeded to draw a very large penis on my whiteboard. And obviously all the children laughed and everything. And he said, I told him to wipe it off and I told him to get out of my class. But for Charlie, that's just funny. He doesn't think of the consequences. And obviously everyone laughing at him is like,
brilliant.
Things like that. And I've just had so many calls from the school, like, where he's just not thought of the consequences. Like, so there is things where he could possibly not do those, but he doesn't think of the consequences. And his impulsivity just gets him to, So
how do you find that affects all of you guys, I guess, because that impulsivity will be there at home as well. You've got a younger daughter as well.
It's he's just annoying. I want to say, but he can't help it. Bless him. Like if we're having dinner at the table, he is constantly touching things or kicking the chair and kicking the table, and you're like, Charlie, stop that, Charlie, come on, calm down, but he just can't help it. His impulsivity is, he will just literally, it's silly things like he went to the freezer the other day and just cooked a load of like samosas and things like that, just because he saw them in there. Oh, I'm going to cook them, I'm going to eat them. But he didn't eat them all or anything, but he just thought, oh, they look nice, I'm going to eat them. Just it's things like that. He's just, he's
Charlie.
He's Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that, he does just, it's just Charlie.
And without that diagnosis, how do you think that would be with you guys now? Like, if you didn't know that that's what this is.
Yeah, I would just think he was probably naughty. Probably a naughty child. Because I wouldn't have understood what he's going through his brain, how his brain works, things that he thinks is normal and it's not. So yeah, I'd probably just think that he was just a naughty child and I wasn't a very good parent.
And it's that.
So
I think it's so huge that I don't think a diagnosis is a silver bullet, like you were saying earlier. It really helps some instances and some not. But I think with ADHD, because of some of the traits of it, you could just see your kid as being really disrespectful, and actually it's an impulse. It's actually an urge that if they don't, it's really uncomfortable. It's like a different scenario.
Yeah, definitely. Like when we go for dinner and stuff like that, he's rocking on the chair, or he's fiddling with things, or it's quite like people do look at us. Not so much now, because he doesn't like coming out of us now. He's too cool to come out of us when we go out for dinner and stuff. But yeah, like when we were younger, he was just so loud and like with his tics and things like that. He has a tic. Well, he hasn't got it at the moment, but he had a tic where he'd be like punching himself in the head and just like sitting there and doing this. I mean, his new tic at the moment is really annoying. He'll be like orange, 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 red, 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 blue, blue, and he just keeps doing it. And you're just like, Charlie, like on the way to school in the car. But he doesn't know he's doing. He's sat on his phone going blue, 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 red, red, and he's quite happy. He's quite happy just doing it.
In his way of doing it.
Yeah, in his way of doing it. So I can't get cross with him over things like that, because even though I want to be like, Charlie, be quiet.
What do you do?
After a while I am like, Charlie, that's enough now, please. And Esme will be like, Charlie, shut up. Which then they cause a little argument together. But yeah, the siren and the shrieks, that they're the most difficult ones, because you don't know when they're going to come, and their head's hitting. He doesn't do that as much anymore, but as soon as I saw him do it, I just literally go and cuddle him and like try and stop him, or try and change something, like, oh, come here, let's do this or something, to try and take his mind off of it. Draw out of it. Or he'll do things like he'll go like that a lot and stuff, so that's quite one that he does a lot.
Well, it's an easy thing to do. They don't need anything, does it? It's just always the ability to be able to do it. So but it's really fascinating to see how you've, as a family, have adapted. And like you say, where you would have got really cross and potentially always been fighting and arguing, and now actually you're in a different phase. But you mentioned Esme there. How's this been? Because it's a family thing. I've worked with anxiety a lot. That disrupts families massively. You're talking far bigger scale. How have you found her?
So I asked her some questions about like, how do you feel about your brother who's like extremely hyper and fidgety and stuff, and she's only 9, but she's quite bright for being 9. So she said, well, it is hard. He always tries to make me do stuff, and when I say no, he gets really angry and crazy to me and hits me. He is sometimes annoying because he won't calm down. He can never really sit still, like at the dinner table. He is always moving and knocking the table or my chair, which is really annoying. He can be in different moods, like getting angry, and he will hit and kick me, but then he can be nice to me sometimes. When we play together, he can be nice, but then 5 minutes later, he will be moody and angry. He cries a lot if mum says he can't do something. He will cry and get angry and push his mum, and I think he's absolutely nuts. I do love him, though, even if he is annoying, which is cute.
Bless her. And I should just say, I'm from what we've talked about, he hits and kicks me. We're not in a situation here where there's anything anybody needs to worry about.
Oh no, nothing at all. No, he never hits and kicks me like that. No, sorry, he never hits and kicks her like beating her up kind of thing. It's more So she'll be playing with like her sort of alien families or her Barbie, and she sets it all up nicely, and he'll just go and walk through it and pretend he hasn't seen it and things like that. So that's the kind of thing. Yeah, no, he doesn't do anything like that. No, yeah.
No, I know this. And I appreciate her honesty, so wouldn't want to take away from that in that sense.
Yeah.
But don't ignore the other. Bless her heart.
No, yeah. But she gives as good as she gets. Don't, you know, she proper gives as good as she gets. And she'll start it sometimes, and, you know, so she's not all innocent.
So I'm intrigued, what is like a day in your life of your family and stuff? How does it work? Especially because you said Tom's not always there, or how does it work now?
Well, Tom actually is there a bit more now because he's changed his job, so he doesn't have to leave as early in the morning. And he actually said to my parents the other day that he didn't realise how hard it is for me in the mornings with Charlie, like getting him up for school and everything. He said, I'm constantly, Charlie, you need to get up for school now. Charlie, you need to get dressed for school. Charlie, don't forget your teeth. Oh, Charlie, have you done this? Have you got your PE kit? Have you done it? And Charlie just lies in bed and refuses to get out. I have to take him breakfast in bed now because he refuses to eat before school. And, you know, some people be like, well, just don't feed him. But I can't do that with him. He needs to have food, and also he has to take it with his medication. So I need to make sure he eats. So I do, you know, and I'll be like, and it has worked a bit more. I'll be like, here's your breakfast, and you need to get up and get ready. And he sort of has got a bit better at doing that. But yeah, Tom told my mum and dad that it's like absolute carnage at home because he didn't realise how hard Charlie is, and the constant reminders to do everything. And he didn't say it to me, but it's really nice that he's noticed it, because the mornings are the worst because obviously he slept all night, so he's really hyper in the morning. Miserable but hyper.
Not a great combination in anyone's house. Not at all.
No.
Bless you. It does sound so. Yeah, a fantastic journey of huge ups and downs by the sounds of it, supported by some fantastic people, you know, a bit of luck, a bit of education, a bit of information has helped you and Charlie and all of your family to navigate this path. I guess long 7 years for you, impossible question, but have you got any tips for anybody who's maybe on this way, or things that you do that you found that have helped in your family life that people could steal?
Still, well, I did write a few things down, just in case. So yes, let me just have a little look. So with Charlie, I mean, this is obviously not going to be of every ADHD child, but I always have to now give simple instructions to Charlie. So like in the mornings, I'll be like, well, I actually do this for him every day, which I'll show you in a minute. But after I've had breakfast, I'll be like, right, Charlie, when you finish breakfast, can you get dressed now, please? And then I'll walk away and do something else. I used to be like, Charlie, you need to get dressed, do your teeth, get your clothes on. And it was just too much for him to take in. So I had to break it down. So I actually do this. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it now, but I do this for him every day. He used to have like a board and stuff, but he broke it. So now I just use paper, because that's another thing about him. He breaks everything. Pens, it always comes home, breaks pens every day from school, rulers, the amount of money we've spent on stuff like that for school. But this basically, it's so like before school, I have breakfast, feed all your animals, get dressed, do your teeth, wash your face. So he just ticks them off as he goes, and it just helps him more having as a visual. I've tried like sticky notes and stuff, but for him that didn't work. And then at night time, I've put like shower, teeth, get school clothes and PE kit ready, put your iPad on charge. It doesn't work every day. He'll have days where he won't want to do it at all. But I found that having this in front of him, like to read, and then he'll go, oh yeah, I've done that. It's the visual of having it there instead of me saying to him, Charlie, do this, Charlie, do that. Yeah. So that's what I have to do every day. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it doesn't always work. And I do still go in every day. Charlie, you haven't got dressed yet for school. Like, oh, in a minute. And, you know, things like that. But yeah, that is the one thing that's worked so far out of everything that I have tried. So set clear boundaries. So yeah, so unacceptable behaviour. I know that they can't help it with some of them, but I do really try to stay calm with him. And like I said, with the way he talks to teachers and stuff, if you don't talk to them with respect as such, and you know, you just shout at them all the time, they will just shout and argue back. I've found if I'm a bit more calmer with Charlie, and be like, right, you need to come off the Xbox in 10 minutes or something like that, he will do it more than if I said, right, Xbox, get off now, Don't get me wrong, sometimes I do when he's really like, you know, I'm not this perfect parent, believe me, like I struggle still with him, but so yeah. And another thing that Charlie absolutely thrives off is being praised. They have like these behaviour points at school, and they have bad ones and good ones, and when he gets the good ones, I praise him and I give him a huge cuddle when he comes in. I buy him some, you know, sweets or something like that, and he's really like, the beam on his face is, you know, even if he has bad ones and good ones, I still praise him for getting the good ones. I am always like, right, what were the bad ones for? And he always says, it's not my fault, it wasn't my fault, every single time. And I'm like, right, well, whose fault was it? And then he'll go, so and so. So I'm like, right, okay. I know that's not true.
But you're hearing them out because you understand it.
They can't help having ADHD. They cannot help the way they are, especially ones that have got the combined, they've got all three. You know, a lot's going on in their brains, a lot of fast things are going on in their brains. So yeah, I try not to get angry and frustrated, but I can't help it sometimes. But I really try not to, with him. The thing with Charlie is that he does need to burn off excessive energy, and with football and everything like that, and he goes out every evening. He wants to be a farmer when he's older, so he goes to college one day a week to do agriculture. So yeah, and one day a week he does work experience as well. So he's only going to school 3 days a week now, which the school have done, and obviously through his EHCP and stuff. So he's getting that energy out, whether it's at school or at work experience and stuff. So if they don't burn energy off, then they won't get any sleep. They won't sleep.
There it is. There's the equation.
So that, for Charlie, that's brilliant. And I'm like, go for a walk, go and walk the dog. So like involving the family, making sure that Charlie doesn't get the attention all the time, because Esme does get quite jealous. Like I said, he's out quite a lot, so it's a bit easier now that he's not out quite a lot. But when he wasn't old enough and stuff, Esme would get jealous that he'd get the attention, or that I'd have to take Charlie to hospital appointments and things like that, and other people would have to pick her up from school, so she'd get a bit jealous. Make sure they know you love them. I tell Charlie I love him every single day. And whenever he puts the phone down to me, he always go, love you, mum. And he's really lovely like that. I just make sure I tell him how proud I am of him, or I just love him, or, you know, just to make sure he knows, because I don't want him feeling that I don't. I suppose.
So that lesson is for every parent.
Yes.
That's the parenting must. Secured there.
Lovely. And you know, he's just a really loving child. Like, you know, there's good things about ADHD, like they hyper focus on things. So Charlie's really into model making, and he will sit for hours doing model making because he's focusing on something he wants to do. They hyper focus on things they enjoy, and they'll spend hours doing it. You tell him to do something else and he won't. You know, they're really creative. They have good conversational skills. They've got loads of energy. So there's really good things about it as well, and that's what I try and tell him, not just the bad things.
And yourself on those days where there's screeches or sirens and they get out of bed. And I remember those.
And you know, I wouldn't change him. Like, as much as, you know, you sometimes think, oh, I wish he didn't have it. I would never change him. It's who he is, and he's I know I'm being biased, but he is a really lovely boy. And
you're not.
And everyone
your friends have said it. They told us earlier exactly that. It's not just you. It's everybody who knows him.
I know. I am really lucky. But one thing everyone says when they meet Charlie is how polite he is. So that's made me feel really good. But then another thing I've done for Charlie is he's read all these now, so I've just kept it. But I had this jar, and I just wrote things in it. So if ever he was feeling down or upset, he could just go and get one out. So there's a couple of examples here I've just taken out, and they're things like ADHD doesn't stop me. I'm more than just my ADHD. sometimes I get frustrated, and that's okay. My family and friends are always there for me. I'm one of a kind. I'm perfect just the way I am, just little things like that. So, and he did really appreciate them. And now Esme has this in her room because she likes to read them as well. So yeah, I don't know, I just tried lots of things to try and help him feel okay.
Well, and it feels like it works, that you've, and I'm sure there's, iterations of things that you've tried and done. And like you said, with the list, it didn't start as a list on a piece of paper.
No.
But again, we go back to, you didn't quit. You didn't go, oh, the whole idea is ridiculous. That's it. That's pointless. It's adapting and evolving, and that takes so much strength to be able to keep doing it. But I think one of the main reasons I wanted you here is you're the exact example of that glimmer of hope for people, for how it can be, that it is worth it, that it does make a difference.
It totally is worth it. Don't get me wrong, I had quite a bad period with Charlie where I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to cope, and I got quite low and everything like that, and I didn't want to get up in the mornings, but I had to because of the children, and I did go through a really bad patch. But then, my mum and actually a lot of my friends have said that I'm one of the strongest people they know, and I've never looked at myself as being strong. I cry if I see a dead animal on the road, or if I see an old person walking down the road on their own. I'm just like, oh my goodness, But I must be quite strong to have gone through all of that, to 7 years worth of, and even now still pushing for him to get the help that he needs and deserves, and for the school to make some changes for all the children that are going through neurodiversity. So yeah, it hasn't always been easy, but I've got through, and I think that people can, as long as they've got people to talk to.
It's what makes a difference. And from conversations we've had about this, that it sounds destined to be your future, Sophie, somewhere along the line.
Well, I started doing a child and young people's mental health course for myself, really. And then I thought to myself, do you know what, I've gone through this with Charlie. I'm obviously no professional or anything like that, but I've now decided that I would like to go along the line of helping parents and children going through the process, or in schools of children, because the child and young person's mental health course covers loads of stuff like anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff. But I'm also doing an ADHD course as well, just to get qualifications in just learning about it, or learning more, and then hopefully in August I'm doing an autism course. So that's where I've decided, after all these years, I would like to do that and just go and help them if I can.
Well, so you will. I'll be firmly behind pumping you back out when you get there. But it's another reason where you're that great example of it. It was something that was so challenging, and I absolutely applaud you for sharing how difficult that did get, the reality of where that's been for you. That again, I'm with your mates going, no, that's strength, that's never weakness, that's uber strong and do that today. But you've turned it into something beautiful, that if you do make something with this, you're going to change other parents' lives, you're going to change your own family's lives, because you'll learn off the back of it. What a beautiful thing to do out of something that started as such a challenge and is now almost feeling like a gift, that you can create something beautiful out of it. It's too much loveliness for me not to mention it on here, for how you've changed that for Charlie, and he's flourishing for it too. So
I mean, you just have to be there for your children and push for what you want them to get. And I feel I did that, and although it was a really long journey, and we still have our bad days, don't get me wrong, like this morning I was not good in going to school and stuff, but I've got to the other side, and so you can get through it once everything's a diagnosis, they're looked after more, you've got the school on your side, you can live a better life, I suppose. Instead of this really stressed mental household. I mean, don't get me wrong, the house is mental all the time. When people come around, I'm just like, I'm so sorry. It's just, we've got the dogs barking, Charlie running down the stairs doing a siren, like, yeah.
But that's home. I can't, when you go into the places and it's like the show home, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, I don't live like this. This is not life.
No.
As a family. So your comfort in that, I guess, and your way that it works shows there will be people listening to this basically who've heard your line of there is hope, it does get easier, it does get better, who will literally now be going, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Just from hearing it from you, because you, like you say, it feels really lonely until you can find somewhere.
Yeah, it really does. And if you've got people to talk to, do it. Don't do it alone. Like, I do have an Instagram account for Charlie, which I started up a while ago and then didn't really do it for a while because he was a bit like, I don't want people seeing things I've put on. And I was like, that's absolutely fine, but I don't accept his friends to, like, because it's private. I don't accept his friends. So I am going to put more stuff on. He has said I can do it now as long as his friends can't go on it and stuff, which is fine. So yeah, it is, if anyone wants to follow me or if they want to ask me questions on Instagram and things like that, it's ADHD _life with Charlie, all one word. And yeah, hopefully seeing things like that, people can like understand that they're going through what I went through.
Absolutely. And we'll get the followers number up so Charlie can look at that and go, look at how many people are looking at me.
Yeah, because I want people to look at him and think, oh, he's a funny boy, he's lovely, he does naughty things. I'm very proud of him. He's a little menace, but I love him to bits and I'm very proud.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, your information, your insight and your honesty into your world.
Thank you so much. And if anyone wants my document that I wrote for the school or another document that I am writing for like the parents, then that'd be amazing.
Do you know what? They can follow you on Instagram and request it through there because that's the right way to do that one for definite. So you can get the details of them from that as well. So I'll make sure that's all up. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much if you've listened this far. I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. Don't forget to never miss another episode. Please click the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening on. As always, if you have any feedback or ideas, please do get in touch. I always love to hear from anyone who's been listening to these. You can find me at teentherapist.online.com for my website, or Facebook and Instagram. I'm Teen Therapist Rachel Martin. I will always reply, so please, if you have anything you want to let me know about or ask about, please do just get in touch. And if you're feeling really, really lovely and you're listening on Spotify, you could leave me a review, which would really mean the world to me. Once again, I'd just like to say thanks, and I hope you have a super lovely day.